Good morning. Right, well today our job is to take Hawkesbury Junction onto the North Oxford Canal, head away from Coventry and go down towards Rugby and then beyond to Braunston. Now, the thing is, last night there were no spare moorings, so I had to go beyond Hawkesbury Junction and more, pointing down towards Coventry, which I currently am. So the sensible thing to do is to go down about a mile that way until I find a winding hole, wind and come back. Process that will take a maximum of an hour, because the alternative is to do something really silly, which is to reverse all the way back up to where you might be able to see a white bridge in the background. Bearing in mind, of course, the boats do not have steering in reverse. So the sensible thing to do is to go forwards and wind. Guess which option I'm doing? Now, boats do not have steering in reverse, so you have to put it into forwards every so often to correct any problems. So this is going to be a bit fun. And that's us through the teeny tiny stop lock. We are now on the North Oxford Canal, technically the Oxford Canal, but the northern half of it is always known as the North Oxford, which we are going to cruise the entire length of through its mighty 3 locks at Hillmorton and end up at Braunston. Let's crack on. Okay, so this Horsley Ironworks bridge coming up on the right hand side is pretty typical of some of the meanders which have since been lost following the straightening, which by the way was between like 1829 and 1834. It's quite a long time ago. But the arm which is basically failing to leave, or at least not very far, on our right hand side is the Newbold arm, and it wandered off towards the town of Newbold, and I think we've got time to go and look at the other end, because there's something interesting at the other end. However, if you have a look down the arm, you will see it wanders off a whole, what, 100 yards maybe, before it just peters out into not very much. You could actually get a boat down there, but probably not very far. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the other end of it. And whilst we're here, we may as well have a look through this bridge and see what they did to get through it, which is one, an enormous cutting, and two, you might be able to see in the distance an absolutely teeny tiny tunnel, which we will go through on the time-lapse camera. See you in a bit. Right, so I said we'd try and find something interesting about the Newbold arm. There's not a lot of evidence of it here. It left more or less where the camera is pointing at now and went out, I think probably past this house here, maybe even through that house there, I don't know. But apparently there is an interesting remain, built remains, that we can go and see, so let's go and find it. So here we are out the back of St Botolph's churchyard, and I'm looking directly down the line of the old canal, and if I turn around, excitingly, we can see something. Let's walk down here. I am now walking along the bottom of the old canal, and you can see ahead of us the bricked up tunnel portal of the original Newbold tunnel. Now this was abandoned really quite some time ago, but what it does have is some holes for bats to get in and out of, which is rather nice. And you can see there's plenty of room for boats to get through. I wonder if we can have a look and see. Not a great deal to see, but nonetheless, well, there we go. Bits of canal tunnel. Hooray. Okay, well, I hope that was fun. Let's get back on with our journey. Well, it has turned into a lovely day, and we are coming up on the only three real locks of the North Oxford Canal. They are the Hillmorton locks, and unusually for the canal system, they have been doubled up and they've kept both doublings of the locks working. So I've got a choice, left or right, 3 times to make. Let's crack on with the locks. That, ladies and gentlemen, marks the end of the narrow locks on this trip. How many have we had? We had 3 at Minworth, 11 at Curdworth, so that's 14, 2 at Glasgow, so that's 16, 11 at Atherstone, so that's 27, and then these 3 at Hillmorton. Oh no, hold on, 1 stop lock, barely a lock, this morning. So that's 28, and then these 3, 30. So 30 narrow locks. And then back to the end of my journey, I've got 6, 7 and 7. So that makes a grand total of 20 wide beam locks to the journey's end. Let's crack on towards Braunston. As we come round the corner under a slightly unprepossessing concrete bridge, we enter Braunston. This is where we say goodbye to the North Oxford Canal and enter, albeit for 200 yards before I tie up tonight, the Grand Union Canal, on which we are going to stay until I get back to Milton Keynes. Actually, the Grand Union Canal and the Oxford Canal both turn off to the right in a minute and share the same channel for a mile or so down to Nuneaton Junction, where the Grand Union Canal also goes up to Birmingham, albeit via a series of many more locks, all of which are wide beam. So let's get ourselves to our final destination and then tie up. And that's me done. I'm in Braunston. I'll be going down towards Stoke Bruin tomorrow, but before then I'm going to go to the pub. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.